coming to camera 3 in 3, 2, 1. You're hot.
What's up, everyone? Today's episode is all about graphics. So I thought I would talk to you guys about the best use of graphics ever made in the world, and that is Snapchat filters. So what I have in front of me are some awesome Snapchat filters. I was going to tell you all about them. So first up, we have a really cool bunny suit, and what's cool about it is it's an actual real live action one. It's not like a CGI one, and you just like put your face in it. So that's really cool. Another one is a really awesome sweatband and handlebar mustaches, and like the handlebar mustaches go like down to here, and it's really cool. You look very masculine. There's also a really cool one.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Do you have actual photos that you can put on the screen? I thought that's what we were doing.
I mean, yeah, I could. I just don't want to cover my face. Yeah.
Oh, I think you should just put the photos.
Would it be better that way? Better than just my face?
Just this time. Let's just try it.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Okay, so here is the bunny suit in question. Super cool, much bunny. The handlebar mustache and the awesome sweatband. And yeah, here's also a really great one. It's a good Snapchat filter, give you a good hairdo, so that way you never need a haircut ever again.
Just want to go ahead and say thanks, Eric, one of our newest employees, for being the model for that one. I think that worked out a lot better, Walsh. I think that might be the way to go.
All right. So if that's the way we're doing it, then this is Ready Take Live.
Hey! Welcome back to another episode of Ready Take Live, your favorite live show about live shows. Again, my name is Aubrey. I'll be one of your hosts today, and I'm very excited to welcome in one of our producers who's not been on the show yet. This is Gaff running audio today.
What's going on, everyone?
I like how your headphones look, Gaff.
Right?
That's really nice.
It's a good way of using it. You gotta hear with all of your ears.
All of your ears. Let's get some fun facts about you, Gaff.
Cool. Well, basically, I'm a huge fan of MMA, and I love music, especially hip-hop music, and I make it myself.
Ooh,
What
was
that?
fun.
Why did you do that?
I just thought I would throw that in there again, you know,
Why did you do that?
for safekeeping, you know.
Oh my goodness. You give the graphics app an episode about graphics, and this is what happens.
Whenever I want.
It's off the rails.
I have all the power.
All right, go and get insurance.
Cool, yeah, speaking of graphics, here's my name. I'm Nick. Happy
You're
to be
the
back.
only Nick on the show today. This is the
Whoa.
first time ever
Wow.
that you've been the only Nick.
Wow, I'm so honored. You're welcome.
Obviously, Nick Nagurka's been the only Nick on the show before, but he's busy working on our mobile unit today, so we get to have Gaff.
That's not an excuse. But we're good to have Gaff.
Bad excuse. Cool. Well, we'll get right into it. It's about to get graphic, everybody,
Oh, yeah.
but not in the PG-13 kind of way. We're going to talk about... Okay. We're going to talk about all things GFX and VFX. So GFX is obviously the ideal mode of communicating with your audience. You saw it in our open today. Nick was trying to explain a Snapchat filter without showing it to you. You should just show your audience what you're talking about. It's a way of helping the viewer develop and enhance their own experience.
It's also a great way to move time and space. Now, let's learn a little bit more about our friend that we know with the initials GFX.
Yeah, so GFX, ooh, messed up already. GFX stands for Graphic Future Extreme. No, it doesn't. It's just short for graphics. I just wish it stood for Graphic
But
Future
it's not
Extreme.
even short for
Yeah,
it.
I know. Yeah, it's like
not.
it's more syllables than
It's
saying
more
graphics.
syllables.
It's GFX, but you could write it faster. So if you're like writing a key or something, you could write 3 letters instead of 7, 8. I'm just trying to count. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's known as graphics, and it's basically the idea of using visuals to communicate with your audience. So it works really well in tandem to audio. So normally you just have like a talk show or something that's people talking, it's audio, but you could actually communicate with the audience at the same time with a whole visual layer as well. So you could do things like text, illustrations, and you could even use color. There's a lot of research into how color affects people's emotions. So you could do this all in communication in addition to whatever you're normally doing in your show. You could also use this to show photographs of things you're talking about, diagrams and drawings, and also numbers and graphs. So if you see like the financial news or something, there's a lot of graphs on that. And it could help point users to useful information that is just better done visually than it is auditorily. Some of the things that you could use for this are lower thirds,
Titles,
Subtitles,
closed captioning,
open captioning,
overlays,
DSKs.
and USKs.
Yeah, so there's a ton of different methods that you could have for putting graphics in your production. So really, there's no excuse. So the brief history of graphics. The first computer graphics were started in 1950. And the first computer-driven display was attached to MIT's Whirlwind computer to make very simple images. It needed a room of this size just to make a very simple bitmap. And for some reason, they also used round screens. Don't know why that got taken away. In productions, we mainly use graphics that are made by computers. So graphics that are made by computers can be shown in two different ways. The first way is a raster, and that's typically found in a JPEG, GIF, or a PNG format, or a vector, which is found in an SVG format. Now, raster are the actual pixel-perfect dimensions of it, where every single pixel is actually individually defined. So you could see here why this image is so low quality is because every single pixel is a size. When you try to scale it up or change it at all, you lose quality. So if you don't want to lose quality and you want to be able to just scale it up at will, you'd use something as a vector. A lot of logos are found, or things that you make in Illustrator are found in vectors when you save them as an SVG. That's because you could scale it and move it around, and it's made by actual mathematical formulas that the computer is producing instead of actual pixels. So that's why you could just change the scale of it, and the computer can do the math much better than I can at counting, and actually make the image for you. So something that's complicated with vectors is it actually does use a lot more processing power. So if you are doing something super complicated, your file size is going to be much bigger, which means some computers will handle it much slower. Some other ways graphics are used, not necessarily for broadcast, are in magazines. You know, when you see like the headlines on people and it like overlaps and goes under people and stuff. And there's also for screensavers, you know, your classic Windows, the pipes going through. That's all made by computers.
All right, so let's get into VFX now. Basically, VFX is the push and pull between live action and generated images. So with VFX, it's used to develop the user experience, enhance it a little bit, and keep the story going while still paying attention to the characters. Now, with the characters, in terms of VFX, there's CGI, now there's animation, there's motion capture, like you can see here in the Lord of the Rings image here. Schmeagol, I believe is his name is, and the actor that plays him. They actually capture
Gollum is another name for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Schmeagol.
Well, it's both.
Popped in there.
He has two names.
All right, Deb. Can you tell that I never watched Lord of the Rings?
My nerd showing a little.
Yeah, no, Lord of the Rings.
It's what's his name? Andy
Serkis.
Yeah.
Ah, that's his name. Yeah, well, basically those little balls on them capture his motion, and then they use it to map it to the animation you see on the left there, creating an awesome movie that we call Lord of the Rings. In addition to that, VFX is the push and pull between live effects, special effects, and generated effects. It's basically imagery manipulation. Now, applications for VFX include printed media, video games, films, TV programs, simulators, digital movies like Lord of the Rings, or Game of Thrones. I know some of you out there will be watching. And it's kind of awesome because video effects basically enhances the user experience past any way that we've done in the last 15 years. If you think about it, in the last 15 years, we've seen some incredible content, whether it's on your laptops, on your phones, on your TV screens, movie screens. Video effects is everywhere. So that's pretty cool. Now, diving a little deeper into the motion capture, when they do 3D modeling in addition to motion capture, they got to put it on a background. Now, that that background that they use is called a matte painting. Now, matte paintings are best for 3D modeling because it gives a background that kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. If you put those 3D models on a 2D background, it would kind of be like putting somebody on a green screen and it's saying that they're not really in, and the lighting kind of looks weird. It just doesn't look right. So that's exactly why we use matte painting as a background. And when you do combine all those effects, matte painting, motion capture, animation, modeling, all together, that's called compositing. Now let's jump into the next part. A little history about graphics. So it started in the 1980s, and guess who was the pioneer of all this Pixar 3D modeling? Oh, yeah, I dropped the hint. It's Pixar. So there you go. Yeah, so they started with the first movie. Can you guess what the first movie was? Take a look at these two guys right here. If you shouted out of your seat and jumped out and just yelled, you probably know who those are. That's Woody and Buzz Lightyear. And the movie is, ding, 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 Toy Story. Amazing. That came out in 1995, and it was the first full-length computer-generated animation film. Now, in 1996, there was a video game that pioneered in the same way, and that video game was called Quake. Now, Quake was a video game that was basically a first-person shooter similar to our 007 GoldenEye type video games. Here's an image of the actual gameplay here. You can see the gun at the bottom center screen, walls, objects that you're shooting at, the crosshairs, the normal stuff. Now, we're going to take a look at Call of Duty, which is the new version of that game. As you can see on the right, you have the old version, which is the 2003 kind of 2D, 3D, weird, old school version. And then to the left, you have 2018. Absolutely beautiful, those graphics. Look at it. You can honestly see every single thing in the picture. Like, that just shows in a 15-year gap how far we've come in graphics, VFX, everything in terms of computer-generated imaging. So that's pretty cool. I just wanted to share that, guys.
Yeah, no, it's funny because that Quake image, that's the image from 1996?
Yes.
It looks better than Call of Duty in 2003.
It is pretty sad.
It's a much more clear image, which is funny.
The curve was, you know.
It was an interesting time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if you want to talk more about gaming and e-gaming, you can go to our episode 301 from this season. We talk all about esports, so the past and the future of that. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. So we've talked about VFX and GFX, and now let's compare and contrast. So the differences between them. One of them is live, one of them is staged. So obviously the idea is GFX could be put in a live environment, VFX are in a staged environment. One is executed in production and one is executed in post. While GFX are created in post, they are put into play in production, whereas all VFX are done in post. One controls its setting and one is controlled by its setting. So controlled by its setting is GFX and controls its setting is VFX because it creates its own world.
Yeah, so one really great use of graphics that we kind of covered in our first season of Ready Take Live, and it provides a really great example of everything we've been talking about so far, is the line of scrimmage. And the history of it's really, really interesting, and what they're able to do, and it's been around forever, is really, really fascinating. So it actually started as a way for people to try to cover hockey because it was really hard to follow the puck as it was moving around the rink. So they tried to make it glow so it'd be easier for people at home to see. Now, they eventually abandoned it because it was too hard to do, probably because it was like a tiny black object that they were trying to find constantly, but they were actually able to use it for football. So what they did was they were able to take the pan, tilt, and zoom data for every single camera and bring that all into a computer and create a line that was relative to each of the cameras that followed the line of scrimmage wherever it happened during the game. And so it was really, really amazing how they were able to do that. And luckily, the field that they're playing on isn't a white hockey rink following a black object, but it's actually on a green field. So it actually turns the field into a green screen. It's able to pull samples from anywhere in the field due to where the sun is or any shadows that are made, and actually use that to key out the ground while avoiding the uniforms of the people who are playing. So that's why you could see people look like they're traveling over the line of scrimmage, even though it's a computer-generated graphic. So it was like a really great example of that they use. And Sports Vision, which is the company that created it, actually won an Emmy for their work, and you could see it in every single football game today. And in fact, it was so expensive to produce, it was about $25,000 per game, that they ended up canceling it and weren't using it just because of how much money it was, but fans uproared so much that they were forced to bring it back into their production. So they had to find the money somewhere to get it to actually work.
Wow. $25,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, per game. Yeah.
Per game, exactly. So it's like, at what point are they making? How much money did Sports Vision spend to create it that they still need to charge that much money a game?
Yeah.
Or that it's been valued that high? Is very interesting.
Yeah.
But also, not all football fields are green.
That's true.
There's a school, Boise. We said Boise State.
Boise State.
Boise
is one
State
of
that
them.
has a blue field.
Also, the Oakland Raiders, I believe, still have half a baseball field in their field. So it's interesting how they combine that with the dirt-colored pattern. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering what Sports Vision has done in that case.
Yeah, they probably have done a lot of new fancy things since then.
I'm sure. So we talked about VFX, some use cases that we see in everyday life. If you've got a smartphone, mine's not next to me. Where is it? I don't know. This is not good.
How do you live?
I don't know. I'll find it later, I guess. Twitch. If you've got a smartphone, odds are you've got Snapchat or Instagram. Snapchat made it famous. Instagram stories just keeps it alive. So obviously there's fun filters that they use in everyday life. So you've got Alexis looking like some sort of kung fu fighter. And you've got Eric, our newest employee. Poor guy.
One day old.
All dressed up. And then the really famous one is obviously the dog one. All the influencers always have dog faces.
You can't be an influencer unless you have that.
You can't. Snap. Oh, yes. And they have ads now, too. So this is Gaff, obviously selling his straightened teeth for 60% less.
That's hilarious because it's probably like the before picture. It's like unstraightening your teeth, and then it's like overcorrecting itself for the
Exactly.
actual
It's
picture.
like, look at the gaps in his teeth that don't actually exist in real life. Well, why would you want to put that on your story? I don't know. And then a really creepy one. I don't like that
Medici.
one. I really don't like that one. Let's
yeah,
go
that
to
was
the next
kind of
one.
horrifying.
Let's go to
no,
the
let's just leave this up for a little.
No, I think we're good. Snap 3D. So I've always had Bitmoji, which is awesome, but Snap 3D allows you to create 3D versions of yourself in real life spaces. So it's less of a little meme that you're creating with a still graphic, and you're actually creating yourself in a still space, which is really cool. Obviously, super relatable at the water cooler. We don't have a water cooler. We have a Brita.
Fancy
Better
water
for the
cooler.
environment. So yeah, and then oh my God, I almost forgot about the most important one, Pokemon Go.
Yes.
So you've all heard of Pokemon Go. It swept the country about 3 years ago. It's been an AR app that allows you to, in real time, hold your phone up with the camera working and creating Pokemon throughout the space in front of you. So it 3D mapped all of these images in your real world, creating the most real and usable example of augmented reality we've seen, in my opinion. There's not really been a big use case for that. Obviously, you've got VR goggles that are really famous, but I feel like Pokemon Go took that big leap forward, and now we've kind of just no one's done anything else to catch up. So I'm excited because I really do think that's the future, being able to hold up your phone and just kind of like see where everything is. It's like every spy show with the glasses, and they're like, oh, I know
Yeah.
who that person is now because I've scanned them with my infrared sensor. So.
Yeah, and then the new iOS, and they have like the measuring tools. So that's like an AR thing. But like, I feel like I doubt its accuracy, so I don't use it that much.
I did. I actually tested my phone one
Yeah.
the other day. I was at a site visit, and I had a real one. I had our laser one,
Uh-huh.
and I had my phone, and it was accurate.
Whoa. Good. Yeah, because I don't know how that works, because how does it know how far away you are from the thing? It's just like,
Yeah.
it's really interesting.
Math.
Just some math.
Math.
They
You
also
know,
have it
Study
changed
math.
based on the weather, like in your area. It'll change. Like if it's raining, it'll start raining in the app as well. So that's cool.
Whoa, I haven't seen that. That's really crazy.
Wait, what does that?
Pokemon Go.
Oh. Wow.
You go, Pokemon Go.
Yeah, you go. Cool. Well, she wanted to talk about some extra little things as well with GFX, right?
Yeah, well, I'd say more than an extra little thing is like how the F do you actually bring it into your
Well,
broadcast?
sure.
Yeah, you know,
Little extra.
like how do you use it? So there's two big ways of doing it. One is Key Fill, and the other is Chroma. So Chroma is pretty simple. It's great if you have a graphics system that only could send out one channel. So you could see it's basically exactly like a green screen where you have a green background and then you put all of your graphics on top of it, and then you tell your switcher to take anything that's green and make it alpha. So you could actually have the background layer of the switcher, and then anything that's not green stays up on top of it. It can get kind of tricky if you have any kind of green in your footage, and also if it doesn't do well with certain animations, and it can actually see it break up along the edges and you see the green and it can't chroma it out. So a better way to do it is to use something called Key Fill, and this actually takes all of the alpha data, and if you didn't know that, alpha channel refers to anything with transparency, so it's like whenever you see a checkerboard in Photoshop or something that makes it see-through, it's able to take all that data and split it into its own channel called a key channel, and then everything else is in the fill channel. So then you send those two channels over to a switcher, and the switcher is able to distinguish between the two and take anything in the background layer and put it in the key, and then put the fill on top of it. And that behaves much better when things are moving and animations, when you get into this really fancy stuff that we've been doing. And it does a really, really great job of it. And so one thing that does a really awesome job about everything we've talking about so far is the L bar. It does a really great job of communicating visually in addition to auditorily. So you could see that people are talking to each other, hear what they're talking about. You could see what subject they're talking about. Like you could clearly see, oh, they're talking about smartwatches now, and then you see everything that's coming up next. So it's if like I was really interested in hearing about the Lego Boost, I could know that if I come back in like 5 or 10 minutes, I'll probably be on that subject. So that's a really good example from a production that we've done of an L bar. And then, so as things are getting fancier and fancier, we're going to need better hardware to handle everything. And so what we've relied on a lot are graphics cards. NVIDIA is a company, in addition to AMD, that makes a lot of the graphics cards that we use and has been vital in the production of video games and broadcast graphics, anything that runs on a computer. And nowadays, we've gotten so advanced that we can actually put a bunch of graphics cards in a server somewhere and use just like the cloud capabilities of it, so you don't have to render anything on site. You could just send all of your information over to a cloud farm and they'll render everything for you on their infinite graphics cards. And also they're starting to, stuff that just came out in the past couple weeks, I think, like Steam and some other companies are actually letting you play video games on whatever device you have, but it's running on a cloud farm somewhere, and actually that's rendering all of the graphics and just sending to you. So it's just, your phone just thinks it's streaming video, but you're actually using full scale like Grand Theft Auto and like all these crazy games on your phone and stuff, which is just insane, really cool. And yeah, so like one of the things that we had done before was this promo for Wowza at NAB last year. We're going to be there again this year, so make sure you say hi to us. We use NVIDIA graphics cards for a lot of our stuff because you have to render stuff like the green in the back. All the graphics are on a chroma keyed channel there, as well as all the stuff on top of it, animating in time with people. So you need something that could powerfully play video with graphics, because otherwise you will no way that you could time all that stuff that's going on. So that's why we really, really rely on the great work that people are doing and making really, really powerful graphics cards.
I love graphics cards.
Who doesn't?
All about the GPU, CPU, more cores, more power.
You know, more cores. And so there's also a lot of software that people use. Some of it is really, really expensive and some is accessible. So you have, like After Effects and Maya, Cinema 4D. All those things are used both for graphics and for VFX. But then there's stuff like GIMP and Pixlr, which are like the free versions of Photoshop, Inkscape, Corel, Xaro, Gravit. So there's really no excuse to bringing graphics into your productions. A lot of software, even OBS, lets you bring in layers on top of your graphics and on top of your production, and it does miles and miles of work to just like bring up the production value of what you're doing and also help communicate with your viewers.
All right, now let's get into the industry future for graphics and video effects. So basically, let's talk about interactive video. Now, there's this cool video online by Honda. We can pull up that graphic real quick. Basically, you can press a key. So, you see how the red is highlighted R? If you were on your laptop or your computer, you'd hold down R and it would completely change the perspective of your video. Now you're looking at a road right now, it could change it to a different view on the road. It would change the day from night if you held R. It would even change the music. So basically it completely alters the user experience just by hitting one little key. So that's so dope that you could have two sides of the coin just in one simple video. So many applications for that, I can't even start. If you do want to check this video out, just go to view.wirewax.com and it'll be right there for you. Now, in addition to interactive video, there's also the VR headsets, virtual reality. Basically, virtual reality combines special effects, video effects, and a matte background. So it creates a completely different environment for you to experience and enhance your cognitive skills or whatever people use the VR headsets for. I mean, I don't use them. I've used them like one or
Oh, they're pretty
twice.
crazy.
Cognitive
They're cool.
skills.
You know. Yeah, no, it's true. Like, cause like it really does like mess with your cognition. Like, I played one game, Supermax, and basically it's like whenever you move, time moves. So like I played it like probably for an hour, but after I was just like, oh, I can't move or else time will move. Like it just like really like messed with my brain because it's just like so fast. Like so it really does like do a lot with like your cognition, your like sensibilities of like what your eyes are seeing and your brain is processing. It's like all fake, but it feels really real.
In addition to that, there's other apps that we also have that are changing the game. One of the apps is called TikTok. The youngins are using it if you heard of it. But basically it's similar to Vine in which you were sending short videos to communicate. Now, TikTok is more music oriented. A lot of people are using it to make like music videos and short form content, kind of like how Vine was doing. So a lot of people are using that.
Is it anything like Marco Polo?
Similar in that you could send one-to-one as well.
Oh, you can send with Vine. I can't remember. Could you send one-to-one Vines, or you just post it on the stream?
I think you could DM.
You
I
could
think there's
DM
a
on
form
Vine.
of DM on Vine. Yeah.
Okay.
A VDM.
No.
It's not a thing.
No.
Sounds weird too.
Slide
It
into
does
your
sound really
VDMs.
Slide into your medium. Oh, it's good graphic.
Oh boy.
And the last point in the industry future here is HTML4 versus HTML5. Well, basically, it's 5 includes detailed processing models to encourage more interoperable implementations. It's basically a software solution stack that defines the properties and behaviors of a web page content by implementing a video markup-based pattern to it. Now, some of the highlights of it are newer language, newer code. It's a little easier to use. It's just modernizing it, making it better and easier for the person making their content.
And part of HTML5 was in response to how much video there was on the internet. It's like, I don't remember the number, but like 80% of all data online is video. And it was kind of a response to making video easier to use. And what it can do is actually put a graphics layer on top of the video that you're watching and increase and add like a layer of interactivity. So something about, like shopping, if you're watching a TV show or something and you were like, oh, I really want that shirt that guy's wearing, they could have a layer of HTML5 on top of it, so I could click on the area of the screen, and it'll bring me to a link to where I could buy the shirt. So there are just like crazy opportunities for people to add graphics to their stuff that's completely web-based and actually on the website side instead of having it necessarily in the production.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments on YouTube. Which is great. Thank you so much for commenting. Keep it coming. But specifically about what graphic system we're using. So obviously there are a lot of expensive graphic systems out there, and we are a company that that is very proud of the fact that we don't always have to buy the most expensive thing to still put out an amazing product. So I will let our graphics operator explain to you the system that we have in place.
Yeah, so for what we're using right now, we actually have a vMix run on a production bot. And production bot is really great because it doesn't take up a lot of space because the screen's built in. So we're able to just drop it into our control room, and then it has a Blackmagic, or I don't remember what capture card. It has a 4K Extreme. We changed our capture cards out around a lot, so I don't remember exactly what's in there.
4K.
Yeah, definitely 4K. Okay. So yeah, we have the 4K and a lot of 8K.
Yeah.
Boom, high five. Wherever you are.
Air 5.
It's
I went
other
wrong
way, down.
Okay.
There
Okay.
it is.
Good job.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. We haven't practiced that. So we just have a key fill running out of a Decklink 4K, and we're just running vMix. And so instead of just using it as the switcher, we're just running all the graphics through, and we're overlaying everything onto. I'm bouncing back and forth between an alpha channel color and just putting all the images in there. Why we like vMix is because it's really, really fast. We can load up all the graphics. I think I was able to get everything in here in 10 minutes, where in some softwares we have to import everything and wait for it to load and stuff. But vMix is really, really fast, so that's why we like to use it, especially when like graphics are changing and where a lot of things are moving around. It's really easy to stay organized and like keep up with all the changes that are going on. So that's why I really like vMix. In some past episodes already take live, we actually use our own software that we built that actually is really great. It's like twofold, because it's like you can be very specific, but then you like have to be very specific, and you kind of need to invent all your own stuff. But that works in a similar way, where it also spits out key fill, and that also gives us a little more flexibility for bringing in information from a lot of sources, like aggregating data from, like for example, pulling in votes that people have on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and we can actually aggregate that together and create graphics that respond to that. So if like what we did for one of the sports shows in our studio, that actually had people vote on an A or a B, and like this graphic moved across the football field based on how people were voting. So we could do a lot of capabilities like that as well.
Cool. Anything you want to say about this is specifically for Walsh, about the future of graphics with NDI?
NDI, yeah, NDI is really great because you could send alpha, which is pretty awesome. So I could just plug in one Ethernet cable into my NDI network and then send a key fill channel essentially over that. So that's really, really incredible. Especially I could see it being used in a lot of like news stations and stuff, where you could have like a ton of computers and people working on things and creating graphics simultaneously. Especially with the NDI Photoshop plugin or NDI Premiere and After Effects plugins. So that way we don't have to render anymore, because that's kind of the big thing right now, is all the graphics you need to wait for it to render. So with NDI and the After Effects plugin, it actually allows you to not have to render things. You could just play it out on whatever computer created it, and it could save a ton of time and keep things faster. That's why it's good for news. So it's like as breaking news comes out, people could create and composite graphics much faster and like create that really in-depth experience at a speed that we could never do before.
Yeah, and that question came from Mark on YouTube. Speaking of NDI, another thing about NAB last year, the production bot was at the NDI Pavilion at NAB. And it will not be there this year, but it will be at the Wowza booth. And like we said, it's what we use here. We have vMix on it. We're biased. We love the product. We make the product. But it's an amazing tool to have. There's a bunch of other production companies in New York and LA that also own production bots. We found it incredibly helpful in the field. And with the growth of NDI, it's helpful with vMix and its capabilities there. So big fans. Any final thoughts about graphics?
Graphics.
You need them.
You need them.
Can't live without them.
Yeah. Don't let your graphics operator try to explain Snapchat filters and what they look like.
I mean, you say that, but I say otherwise. I think it was pretty great.
All right. We won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for watching. Keep the comments coming. We will be looking for them. We'll be responding to them. If you have ideas for future shows that you want us to do, I see a couple in the comments. Put those in there. We'd love to look at them. We've taken ideas and used them in the past and had amazing success with them. So let us know. And with that, best of luck on your next live production. Have a great day.